Good morning, students. Today we're going over order of operations, that is 5.4F. What I want to go over is the vocabulary. So to begin with, any questions associated with this T, you're going to have words like value. And value just means that they want you to solve it. So they want the answer to the problem. Also, you should remember that expression does not have an equal sign or a letter. The one that does have an equal sign and a letter, those are equations. That's the difference between the two. Now what you're dealing with is expressions. So it's a series of numbers that has multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction, but does not have an equal sign or a letter. So now, what I want to go over is our strategy. Our strategy is the cake, our handy dandy cake. And we'll begin with the first layer. Our first layer consists of parentheses, brackets, and braces. Now, what do I always tell you? I always tell you to start with your room. Mom and Dad always tell you to clean your room first. So that's where you have to begin, your room, which is in parentheses. So then after you clean your room, your mom and dad are going to tell you to come outside and clean some of the house, right? So those are your brackets. And then after you clean your house, you're gonna be asked to come outside and clean some of your yard, right? So that's where the braces come in. You rarely see the braces in 5th grade, but you just gotta be ready for anything that they throw at you. My braces aren't that pretty, but you know what I mean. Now this is your first layer. Now if you remember, in my room, I used to use a little Super Mario, right? So just imagine that he's there. I'll draw him in if you want. He's there. Forgot his arms. All right, so then the next layer is your multiplication and division. Now you gotta remember that multiplication and division always goes from left to right. So I always ask you, how do you read? Well, you read from left to right. I'm gonna write that down on the side. And that's layer number 2. And then we're gonna go up to layer number 3. Layer number 3 just has your addition and subtraction. And again, that's another layer that does the same thing from left to right. So whatever you see first, that's what you're gonna use first. Okay, left to right. And this is called the cake. So after you're done with this layer, you get to continue on to the second layer, and then of course the third layer. You cannot move until you are done. You cannot move until you are done. Okay, so Super Mario cannot go on to the next level until he's done right here. He can't go on to the third level until he's done here. Okay. All right, I'm gonna erase this to show you some examples. Now, one thing I want to talk about is that when you have expressions like this, you're going to have decimals and you're going to have fractions. You need to remember that to do your decimals, you're going to have a separate little area and line up your decimals. What does that mean, Ms. Alvarez? Well, if I have something like 1 and 8/10, and then I have to add 3 and 7/100, okay? I have 2 decimals. Those have to be lined up. If you do not line them up, you will mess up. I've told you that several times. So, on the side, I'm gonna do my math. I've done my 2 decimals. That's what I mean by line them up. And then you write in your whole first, and then you can write in the rest of it. So my first whole is 1, and my second whole is 3. Now I can write in the second part of my decimal. So this is 1 and 8/10. So I'm gonna write in my 8, and then I have 7/100. So I need a 0 under this 8, and then my 7. I always do this because it's easier to do it that way, just to make lines in between the numbers. That way I know I don't have extra numbers in there. So now I can continue to add. So 1 plus 3, of course, is 4. Actually, sorry, my bad. I've done this wrong. Do I have anything from for the 7 and 7/100? No. So I have to add a 0. 0 plus 7? 7. 8 plus 0? 8. Bring down my decimal. And 3 plus 1 is 4. So now I know that when I add this up, I have 4 and 87/100. Okay? And sorry about the mistake. Alright, so that's the decimals. Now, not only are you going to have decimals, but you're also going to have fractions. Why? Because you're in 5th grade and you've already finished everything. We're reviewing, right? So, fractions. You always got to think of fractions like money. So, remember that 1/4, they're quarters, right? You break down $1, they're quarters. So, that equals 25 cents, right? A half equals 50 cents. A fifth, remember the number at the bottom tells you what to break up the number into. So that'll be 100 pennies into 5 pieces, which is 20 cents, right? And of course, if you have tenths, you have what? Dimes. So then that's 10 cents. Okay, so every time you have a denominator or a fraction, you can do it into these common fractions, or just divide up the 100 pennies by the denominator, and that'll tell you how many pennies you have. Alright, so now I want to move on to some examples. I have one with fractions and I have one with whole numbers. I'm going to do the whole numbers one first because that's what you're accustomed to. So I got 40 minus, open bracket, open parentheses, 30 divided by 5, close the parentheses, times 3, close the bracket. Now, you should already be hearing me say that you need to rewrite this, right? That you cannot solve all of it in one step. So what's the first step that we have? Well, according to our cake, I'm going to do my little cake on the side. First step is parentheses. Second step is brackets. Third step is the braces. Then multiplication, division, and then addition and subtraction. According to my cake, I need to do what? My parentheses. So I have something in parentheses, so this needs to go first. So 30 divided by 5, you know it's 6. What's the next step? Rewrite it. I do not want to see that you did it all in one line, because if you did, you know I get really upset. Alright, so you rewrite it. Everything that you didn't use, you put it down. I didn't use that multiplication, that 3. And then, of course, my 40. So, now that I've done my room, I can do my house. So then 6 times 3 would give you what? 18. So then you rewrite it. So 6 times 3 gives you 18. And again, everything you didn't use, you just bring it down. So 40 minus 18. Now, if you don't know how to do it in your head, you write it down on the side. It doesn't matter. I just want you to get the answer right. So you do 40 minus 18. Can you take 8 away from 0? No, you can't. But you can borrow from that 4. So that 4 becomes a 3. This becomes a 10. Excuse my marker. Seems like it's a little dry. So 10 minus 8 is 2. And 3 minus 1 is 2. So my answer is 22. You just solved your first expression. I'm going to give you another example, okay? Next example is 4 plus 7 divided by, open parentheses, 5.5 plus 1.5 times 3 minus 1. Minus 1. Now I've already have my cake on the side, and I know that the first step is my parentheses, so that has to go first. Check it out. You got halves. You know that a half and a half equals what? 1 whole. So look, 1 half and 1 half is already 1 whole. And then 5 plus 1 equals what? 6. So 6 plus 1 equals 7. Excuse my 6. So right here in my parentheses, I have a 7. I'm going to rewrite it. Remember, everything you didn't use goes down. And yes, it looks a little ugly because I'm writing backwards. So I've solved my parentheses. Right here is the parentheses. And then I rewrote it. Okay? I need another color so I can show you the next step. So now the next step, according to my next step, is, do I have a room? No, I don't have a room. Do I have braces? No, I don't have a brace. So I can go up. My next level is multiplication and division. But what did we say about these? Is that we need to do it from left to right. Left to right. How do you read? From left to right. So what do you see first, the division or the multiplication? Well, you see the division first. So I have to do the division first. 7 divided by 7. That's easy. 1. You didn't use that plus, so write it in. Ta-da! So now I can do my multiplication. If you don't know what you're dividing or what you're multiplying, remember, I always tell you to draw in a bug. So you circle the operation, and you do the antenna to the front, and you do the antenna to the back. And that tells you what 2 numbers you have to work on. In this case, I'm going to multiply 1 times 3, which is 3. I'm using the marker so you can see what I'm doing. So 1 times 3 equals 3. I've already used these 2 numbers, so I don't have to worry about them. But I do have to worry about this plus and this 4. And this subtraction and this 1. So now, do we need any more multiplication or division? No. Super Mario can go on to the next level, the addition and subtraction. Addition and subtraction. What do you see first? Well, I see the addition first, and then I subtract. So 4 plus 3 equals what? 7. Yes, it's going to be a little cramped, so I'm going to do it right here on the side. So it's 7, right? Because I did 3 plus 7. Minus 1, which will give you 6. Let me go ahead and erase it so you can see it better. Okay. And if you notice, I rewrote every single step, even the last one. So you should too. Okay. So now I want you to work on pages 211, 212, and 215 in your Think Up. If you've already done so, check your work. I will be checking these this week. Thank you so much. See you later.